Welcome everyone, my name is Mustafa, otherwise known as Chris, and welcome to some Black Ops 2. Now later on in the video is going to be a bit of Battlefield 3, where I do pretty well with the M27 IAR, so if you want to see Battlefield 3 then obviously that's going to be later on in the video, but this is just a bit of eye candy. Now this clip was actually submitted to me. I didn't make this clip myself. I recorded over it a theatre mode thing, whatever you want to call it. A subscriber basically played a couple of good games, and this was one of the ones he played. The other clip he submitted was actually better than this one, but I thought I'd showcase both of them, so I'm using this one now, and then obviously I'll use the other one in a different video. But what I want to talk about today is next-gen consoles. Now, and actually what next-gen consoles mean for gaming. And there's some pretty obvious things in here, there's some pretty different things in here, but for the most part what I've seen people do is say, oh, next-gen, what does it mean for Battlefield 4? But I want to talk about next-gen in general. What does it mean for gaming? What is it really going to do? Or what kind of an effect is it going to have on gaming? So that's kind of what I want to go over today, and then later on I want to go over a couple of channel things. But anyway, first let's do the next gen stuff. So first of all, better graphics. This is a no-brainer. Everyone knows that with better hardware generally there comes better graphics. What kind of graphics we're going to receive, who knows, because obviously some games don't really need graphics. I know Call of Duty Ghosts is supposed to be improving the graphics upon their previous titles, but Call of Duty's never been renowned for graphics. One of the coolest things about Call of Duty actually is on the console, where most games play at say 30 frames per second, Call of Duty runs at 60, or at least as far as I know it runs at 60. I believe that's how it works. But anyway, the fact that it runs at 60 is awesome, because it just, what a lot of people who haven't played at 60 frames per second on lots of different games compared to 30 frames per second is, if you're playing at 60, it's a just generally smoother experience, and the smoother something looks, the easier or better chance you have of spotting enemies in as you're turning and stuff like that. So it makes the experience a lot better. So although Call of Duty is supposed to be improving their graphics, I don't think they should go all out with the graphics. You know, nicer graphics is cool, but I like that performance level that they currently have. So if they keep the performance and they get up the graphics a bit, which I'm sure they can do, then that's fine. But I don't want them to go like keep upping the graphics and lowering the performance you receive. If they get to a stage where they can't go any higher in the graphics, that's fine. You know, Call of Duty Black Ops 2 isn't exactly renowned for good graphics, but it's still a really enjoyable game. It's not about the graphics, it's about the gameplay, and that's kind of how Call of Duty works. However, on the other end of the spectrum, where Battlefield 4 is coming out, I imagine that game's probably going to still run at 30 frames per second, because they want to pump in as much power as they can into the graphics. They want the physics to be good looking, they want the textures to be good looking, and that is really what Battlefield's about. It's about, you know, running through a city street or something and having an explosion go off next to you and a rocket fly past you and like dust flying all over the place. That's what Battlefield's about, so it does need the high graphics. Both games are really good, by the way. I'm not favouring Battlefield or COD over the other, but I'm just saying they're good for different reasons, and that's kind of what next gen really needs to focus on. What's good about a game, how to utilise the hardware's performance. Now the other thing next gen allows for is better engines. Now engines at the moment, like the CryEngine 3 and the Frostbite 3.0 and stuff like that, those are really good engines, and what they allow for generally is really good performance, good physics, and just make it easier for developers to make really good quality games on them. Now the CryEngine 3 personally is my favourite engine out of all the engines I've seen. Now Frostbite is a really good engine. I've played Bad Company 2, I've played Battlefield 3, so I've had quite a good experience on the Frostbite engine, but the CryEngine, there's something about it. It's always been a really good engine since obviously I've played Crysis 2, and I really would like to see what they do with other games. I heard that they're making Homefront 2, which is actually really interesting, to be fair, because Homefront 1 wasn't really renowned as a good game, but Homefront 2 being made by Crytek on the CryEngine 3, I really want to see what they can do. But anyway, back to next gen. So obviously better graphics, but something else they can do, and I find that kind of interesting as well, is that for the past few years, because of the lacking performance in which the consoles can get at the moment, because obviously they got really old tech in them, it's generally just been first-person shooter after first-person shooter after first-person shooter, which is fine, but they have to mix it up with different types of games. There was a really good game actually on the PlayStation called Little Big Planet. Now if you never got to play that, then you probably don't know what it is, or you've seen it and it looks kind of gay. Now the thing was, when I first heard about Little Big Planet, I thought, whoa, why would anyone want to play that? You're playing as this little sack person and you build levels. But it's one of those games that you have to play really in order to enjoy. And I found that once I started playing it, I was like, whoa, holy crap. And you're sitting there with your friends, and you're making these little RC cars, and you're driving them around the levels, and you're making rocket ships, and just blowing the level up and stuff. It's hilarious. So yeah, just got interrupted by my mum. Anyway, back to the commentary. So as I was saying, Little Big Planet was a really fun game, simply because it's as if the developers kind of took the ability that they have as game makers, and then they just gave it to the people who were playing the game. And although that may not sound that interesting, what was cool about it was the only limitation was literally the mechanics they give you in the game, and also the actual your imagination. You know, what you can imagine is pretty much the limit of what you can make. Obviously, you have to be able to implement the mechanics that are in the game in order to build stuff, which is damn complicated sometimes, which is, in some ways, that's kind of why the game wasn't as successful as it probably could have been. I mean, everyone on PlayStation 3 pretty much had Little Big Planet, but the thing is, not everyone played it on... not everyone played it a ton as experts, if that makes sense, because a lot of people didn't really understand how the mechanics worked and stuff like that. I was one of those people. I didn't really know how to sit there and build a giant spaceship. However, in Little Big Planet 2, they managed to give you the ability to do those sorts of things. However, it kind of it got to the stage where all the simple stuff, all the hard stuff, from Little Big Planet 1 was actually really easy to make in Little Big Planet 2. So once you make it to Little Big Planet 2, it's kind of like, oh, I can make all that stuff now, but it's not all that impressive compared to what these people are making. So Media Molecule did a very... that's a really weird word. Media Molecule did a very good job of making Little Big Planet, but the only issue with it really was how complex it was. So if they managed to make these, like their new games, a little bit simpler and stuff, then they could make some really successful games. Now, obviously, that's just one example of what they could make if they wanted to, but they're not the only games company making games, so there's plenty of opportunity for, other developers to come in and say, oh, we want to make this, we want to make this, we want to make this, and then make a really unique game as well. I mean, obviously, we've got quite a few different games coming out, because towards the end of the current gen, as I said earlier, they were pretty much just making first-person shooters for the most part. But we are going to be seeing a lot of different games again. We're seeing like Infamous, which is a superhero game. We're seeing Watch Dogs, which is it's kind of like an assassin game, but with a little bit of a twist. But from what I can tell from the trailers, I'm really interested in playing that. By the way, I might even do a playthrough, but I'm not sure. And then obviously you've got what other games were there at the conference? Oh, well, we've got E3 coming up, so that will kind of replenish my knowledge. And I will do a video actually after E3 about all the games I'm excited about and the ones I'm not excited about. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunity now with the new technology for games developers to make new types of games. And it's not just the technology is in the hardware available, it's also what PS4 and Xbox One have given the ability with. They've added more abilities with the Kinect 2.0, with the touchpad on the controller. That's kind of added more abilities for developers to make lots of different games. And I'm not talking Kinect Sports 2.0 or anything like that. I really mean games that don't use that as their main feature, but they use it in the game to make it more interesting, and I think that's what lots of games need to do. Because the one thing about a controller and a PC, arguably like keyboard and mouse, which limits you from the game is the abilities to make precise movements. And obviously on a mouse you can make pretty precise movement compared to a controller, but the thing is you can't make those sort of swishes and stuff with your hand on the touchpad. I don't know, you probably could, but you just wouldn't be able to do it as well as you could if you'd literally just touching the touchpad or using the Kinect and looking at your screen and using your hands to kind of do stuff on the screen. It could make for some really interesting games. They probably won't be the most successful games out there. I'm not saying they will be, but it's nice to play a game that kind of stands out from the crowd here and there. One game that stands out from the crowd, in my opinion, because they can make generic games, obviously, like in terms of genres, but a generic game in terms of genre that really stood out from the crowd for me was Spec Ops: The Line. If you never played Spec Ops: The Line, basically it's a third-person shooter. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. But it starts off very basic and generic. The only reason I actually bought it was because it was £5 on Steam in a sale. But it starts off quite generic and a bit normal, I suppose. It was very expected. Excuse me. It's one of those games that when you start playing it, you kind of expect to know what the story is going to be before you even played it. Like when you play Call of Duty or Battlefield, for example, you kind of know what's going to happen. There's going to be some battles. There's going to be some arguments, I suppose, between the squad mates to make things supposedly a bit more realistic. But there's never any like story in it that kind of makes you feel, wow, that was really cool. Or at least I haven't seen that for a while. But Spec Ops: The Line really did that to me. It starts off generic, like I said, but the more it progresses into the game, you just think, wow, this is a really, really good story. It makes you... I'm not going to go into too many details about what the story is, because obviously some of you are probably thinking, maybe I should experience this game. But it does things that most games don't do, and it actually puts you in situations where you really think about the human element. Who's going to be affected in this situation by my decisions? And that's what's cool about the game, and I really hope that any of you watching have either experienced it or want to experience it now, because it really is a good game. And it's just a good example as well of what a developer can do if they take a generic genre and give it something that's different. And what they gave different in this situation was the story. But obviously with the Kinect 2.0, with the touchpad on the PS4 controller, and the new hardware in general, they can make some really interesting things, and I really look forward to games like that. And also, I found that this is one thing, and it's a bit of a tangent. The one thing that people are worrying about with the Kinect, I just want to talk about the Xbox One for a second. Like, the PS4 conference didn't really make me think, wow. It kind of made me think, oh, wow, that's pretty sweet, I suppose. It was, that sounded like a right commoner now. It was pretty sweet, I suppose. Yeah, boy. No. Sorry, I didn't really go all chavvy on you. Anyway. Basically, the PS4 conference, what that made me think was, wow, that's some pretty cool stuff there. I'm kind of interested in that. By the way, if you didn't get the slangy reference from earlier, the whole yeah boy thing, don't worry. If you don't live in Britain, you don't really know. If you do live in Britain, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, the Xbox One, a lot of people were worrying, because they were kind of like, wow, that's a cool feature. You can use the connector voice. Wait a minute. You can use it to do that, but it's always on? Like, the camera's always on? And the voice is always on? That's a bit creepy. And the thing a lot of people have been worrying about is, if you've had a laptop or a PC for a long time and you've got a webcam on it, one thing hackers have the ability to do is actually hack into your PC and activate the webcam and use spyware or whatever to record it. And although Xbox, you would expect them to have a bit... You'd expect it to be harder to hack into. There's still that possibility, and a lot of people have been worrying about the idea of the Kinect being turned on by some hacker, and then like your voice is being recorded and stuff, and maybe Microsoft even doing that. Who knows? Personally, I've played PlayStation for years. I don't see the point in switching over. Nothing at the Xbox conference made me think I want an Xbox. Same with the PlayStation conference, really. Nothing made me really think I want a PlayStation, but because I want to have a console and I've always had a PlayStation, I know what I'm in for. I know the controller, I know the company, so that's why I'm sticking with PlayStation. But yeah, back to the Kinect thing. A lot of people have been worrying about that, and I understand their worry. I really do. I think that Microsoft will eventually just say, well, here's an off button for the Kinect or whatever. I don't know. Who knows? They might even add an extra on switch to their console VCR thing. But whatever. Whatever they do, they need to address that issue. Otherwise, they're probably going to lose a lot of customers. Paranoia. Excuse me. So yeah. Anyway, on a final note, I just want to talk to my subscribers. Well, actually, just to summarise all of that, basically for next gen, I want to see lots of different types of games. I want to see developers really utilise the ability in the hardware, and maybe even use the Kinect and the touchpad in really unique ways, which makes games we haven't really seen before. Now, something for my subscribers. Obviously, I haven't been uploading nearly as regularly as I did in like March and kind of the beginning of April, for example. The reason for that is, as you already know, if you've been keeping up with my videos, is that I simply just haven't had time because of my A-level exams and stuff like that. But they're pretty much over. I have one more next week, and then I have no more exams. So expect more uploads now. I'm not going to be uploading daily, but I used to love uploading daily, but the problem was I was running out of ideas, which is an issue for a commentator. If you're running out of ideas, you kind of can't make videos, which is an issue. Another problem was I would wake up, play games, edit videos, render, upload, end of the day, and I'd have my dinner and go to bed. It's kind of time consuming. So I'll probably be uploading, say, every other day or every 2 days or something. But whatever I produce, I promise you, I will put my whole heart into it. I really do like making videos. It's just that I don't have the time to make them as much as I would quite like to. If I was a full-time YouTuber, which I don't really plan to be doing anyway, maybe I could. But even then, you know, I see what other YouTubers produce and stuff, and they do say it takes them a long time to do. And it's not something I can currently do, and I don't think I'll ever will be able to do that. But I do want to upload at least every other day, or every 2 days, or whatever the case may be. So sorry about the irregular uploads, but there will be more. Also, I should probably say that next week, actually, my internet will be going down for a couple of days because my router's been playing up a little bit. Basically, it keeps turning itself off and on again, which is really weird. But it's been affecting me playing online games and talking to my friends online and stuff like that. So we're going to get that fixed. So next week there will be a couple of days maybe where I don't upload. But other than that, I'm going to be uploading after that. So sorry about that little inconvenience, but don't worry, it will be sorted out. So thanks for watching anyway. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, like, comment and subscribe, all that good stuff. I've been Mustafa. Over and out.